Chapter 2011, Divine Bean Soldier Calamity. Chapter 2011 Divine Bean Soldier Calamity. Divine Emperor City. Inside the painting, Fong Di Chang waved his hand. Immediately, a large amount of white sand flew out and scattered around. The white sand fell on the ground and immediately melted into puddles of milk that seeped into the ground. Blop blop. Air bubbles rose from the ground. The beans buried under the ground devoured the milk and grew rapidly. In 3 minutes, Fong Di Chang expended the small amount of rank 8 immortal material milk sand he had. The barren land became extremely fertile and green bean sprouts broke out of the ground surface. Again. Fong Di Chang took out a snow path immortal material. The immortal material was thrown to the air and was digested by Divine Emperor City, turning into broken lightning rays that covered the whole bean field. The broken lightning slightly touched the tender bean sprouts and agitated their growth potential. The bean sprouts began growing with a visible speed. Continue. After the lightning rays dissipated, Fong Di Chang took out the third immortal material. Time continued to pass. About 3 days and 3 nights later, Fong Di Chang slowly stopped his actions. He looked at the field. The beans had already grown into divine bean soldiers. They were standing in rows, silent and still like statues as they waited for Fong Di Chang's orders. Fong Di Chang sighed, thinking, this is the last batch of divine bean soldiers. My immortal materials are basically all spent. As a clone of Fong Yuan, after Fong Di Chang was schemed by Genesis Lotus Will, he had been trapped in the painting. Over this period of time after the Fate War, he had been waiting for his main body to rescue him while using all his strength to accumulate troops. But even by now, the main body had not come to save him. Fong Di Chang could only prepare to save himself. He was now trapped in the painting, unable to contact the main body and even unable to access Treasure Yellow Heaven. But he had refined Divine Bean Palace, so he still held a portion of the authority. This was the reason Genesis Lotus Will was unable to do anything to him in a short period of time. Fong Di Chang used this authority to borrow Divine Bean Palace's strength in cultivating Divine Bean soldiers. He was constantly accumulating divine bean soldiers, and now, their size had already reached an enormous scale. It is time, move out, invade and seize control of all the paintings. Fong Di Chang gave a command without any hesitation. The divine bean soldier army began to set out. They split into countless divisions as they moved towards the edge of the painting and invaded other painting worlds. Outside Emperor City was a large farmland. Wheat billowed in the autumn wind and many farmers were harvesting them. This year is an abundant year. Yes, every family has made good harvests. What is this noise? The farmers were talking happily when they suddenly heard strange sounds and were bewildered. A group of over 300 divine bean soldiers charged into this painting world. They discovered these farmers and behaved like sharks that smelled blood. They moved extremely quickly and killed anyone they saw. Run! There are monsters, run! Spare me! Spare! Guh! Blood splattered everywhere. The last farmer's head and body were separated, falling into a pool of blood. Divine bean soldiers killed all the humans and occupied this painting world. At another painting outside of Emperor City. It was spring and the scenery was beautiful. A large group of scholars, students, and young ladies went for an outing. In the midst of their joyful talks, several divine bean soldiers appeared suddenly, causing the girls to scream. They dare to offend our young ladies. What are these things? The scholars and students looked curiously as the guards surrounded the divine bean soldiers. The divine bean soldiers began to attack. The guards were already on guard, so the battle went to a standstill. These strange things have bad intentions. Where did these things come out from? Forget that, let's talk after killing them first. The scholars and the students cooperated with the Gu Master Guards and attacked, killing these divine bean soldiers without wasting much energy. But soon, an army of 1,000 divine bean soldiers arrived in this painting world. This time, the guards, scholars and students were unable to resist. After a bitter struggle, most of them were killed and stepped on mercilessly by the divine bean soldiers, while a small portion retreated from this painting world and managed to survive. Each divine bean soldier had extraordinary strength and was at least of desolate beast level, but in the painting world, they had to follow its rules, where the gap between immortal and mortal was minuscule. Moreover, divine being soldiers were transported to other painting worlds randomly, so their scales were not equal. Fong Di Chang made a heavy attack, but the divine being soldier army was scattered everywhere and engaged in their respective invasions. Thus, some divine being soldiers made good progress, some met strong resistance, while some were directly annihilated by the Gu masters in the painting world. Even so, Fong Di Chang soon revealed a satisfied smile. My guess was right. Divine Being Palace's paintings are connected with Emperor City's paintings. Although I am sealed here, my Divine Being soldiers originated from Divine Being Palace and are of the same origin as the whole of Divine Emperor City, so they can move out. The more painting worlds these Divine Being soldiers occupy, the more control I will have over Divine Emperor City. After gaining a certain amount of control, I can even go a step further and suppress Genesis Lotus Will, becoming the owner of Divine Emperor City. Fong Di Chang's huge move this time made the Gu immortal seeds, sent by Heavenly Court into Divine Emperor City's painting world, gather and discuss a plan. What is going on with these Divine Being soldiers? Chen Dejiang frowned. Sun Yao's eyes were red. I also don't know, these monsters appeared and began killing wantonly, they are extremely vicious. Those pitiful beggars and homeless people were all killed by these monsters. Maybe this is our fortuitous encounter, or maybe it is a test. Tang Ruqi guessed. Yingxing Ji frowned. I killed many Divine Being soldiers, but I have not made any gains until now. Wei Wushang analyzed calmly. Divine Being soldiers are a product of Divine Being Palace. According to rumors, Gu immortals can raise these Woodpath soldiers in a large scale in Divine Being Palace. When it is time to battle, the Gu immortal can release them to fight the enemies. Previously, when Divine Being Palace was with Western Desert, they scattered a large number of Divine Being soldiers to fight our central continent's 10 great ancient sections. So what is the reason behind these Divine Being soldiers' sudden appearance? Zhao Shuyi asked. Wei Wushang shook his head. I don't know, it has been some time since we arrived here, but the painting world here is too vast and profound, we don't know a lot of its secrets. What is the point of trying to figure out the reason? Right at this time, Xiao Qixing walked over. Ah, it is Brother Xiao. What information do you have? Or do you know the truth of the matter? These Gu immortal seeds asked one after the other. They thought highly of Xiao Qixing because he had the best progress among them. He mixed into the military faction and continued to advance in ranks and was already a junior officer now. Xiao Qixing said, I don't care about the reason behind these Divine Being soldiers' appearance. I only know the higher-ups have sent the order to mobilize the army to exterminate these Divine Being soldiers. This time, I am leading my troops alone and need assistance. We will cooperate and kill these Divine Being soldiers. There will definitely be rewards after the battle. It is fine with me. These monsters should be killed. Chen Dejiang said. Sun Yao nodded. These Divine Being soldiers are too vicious, they are simply disregarding human lives. I will take revenge for those pitiful beggars and homeless people. Count me in too. Zhao Shuyi also expressed her stance. Soon, all of these Gu immortals agreed and temporarily joined Xiao Qixing as his subordinates. Xiao Qixing laughed heartily. He was pleased and proud with this huge increase in strength and manpower. Move out. Let us kill these Divine Being soldiers. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2012, Fong Di Chang's Death. 2012 Fong Di Chang's Death. Divine Emperor City, Painting World. In the vast plaza, Xiao Qixing led a large group of troops and was facing a group of Divine Being soldiers. The scale of this group of Divine Being soldiers was bigger than Xiao Qixing's side. How do we fight them? Sun Yuanhua had just asked when the Divine Being soldiers charged. Xiao Qixing stopped his side from attacking and smiled. Everyone, please stay put for now and look at how I fight them. Saying this, Xiao Qixing flicked his fingers repeatedly. A large amount of Gu worms flew out of his aperture. These Gu worms fell to the ground and turned into human shapes. Most of them were ordinary soldiers, a few clearly looked like elites, and an extremely small number of them looked much more brave and valiant. These are Soldier Gu, Sergeant Gu, Lieutenant Gu. Gu Ting narrowed his eyes. They should be. Wei Wushang counted roughly. There are over 500 of them, looks like Xiao Qixing progressed really well in the military camp to be able to accumulate so many human path Gu worms. Formation. Xiao Qixing shouted while activating arrow formation Gu. These soldiers immediately gathered, captains led lieutenants, lieutenants led sergeants, and sergeants led soldiers. And the entire army formed a giant arrow that rushed head-on towards the incoming Divine Being soldiers. Charge! Xiao Qixing's army roared loudly. On the contrary, the Divine Being soldiers were silent like there was no life. The two sides were like colliding waves which began to mix into each other. Xiao Qixing's gaze was like lightning as he put all his attention on controlling his troops. In the chaotic battle, his troops were further divided, but they always maintained the most basic military formation. On the contrary, the Divine Being soldiers were a messy and disordered group. After the initial stalemate, the situation began to slowly fall into Xiao Qixing's grasp. Once he occupied the upper hand, this advantage snowballed and soon, it turned into absolute dominance. Finally, Xiao Qixing's side won a complete victory with all Divine Being soldiers killed off. How is it? Xiao Qixing returned with victory and showed off to the other Gu immortal seeds. Zhao Shuyi rolled his eyes, not bothering to reply. Brother Xiao is truly amazing. Chen Dejiang raised his thumb. Ha ha ha. Xiao Qixing laughed heartily and said to Chen Dejiang, if you had walked the same path as me back then, you would also have such accomplishments today. We should continue. We have only cleared up one painting. Wei Wuxiang said. Don't be careless. These soldiers are only yellow bean divine soldiers, they are the most basic type of divine bean soldier. Gu Ting said. They continued to march forward and fight divine bean soldiers. After a while, they arrived at the most flourishing street of Divine Emperor City. Divine Being soldiers were wantonly killing the people in the city and it was a scene of chaos. Sun Yao's eyes turned red with fury. The first time she entered here, she had arrived at this street and enjoyed its flourishing scenes. She had never expected such a beautiful scene to be completely destroyed by the Divine Being soldiers, everywhere was littered with corpses and blood flowed into a river. This will need everyone's assistance. Xiao Qixing was modest for once, the paths are narrow and vision is not clear, my troops won't be able to move properly. The other Gu immortal seeds had no objections as they charged to the front lines and attacked. Xiao Qixing stayed at the rear, observing the situation while controlling the soldiers to move forward. He was deeply aware that he came to compete for Genesis Lotus true inheritance, these Gu masters beside him were his greatest competitors. Know yourself and your enemy, and you will never be defeated, this was the best opportunity to gain information about these people. These Gu master elites of Central Continent's 10 great ancient sects were indeed extraordinary. Xiao Qixing had made a lot of progress, these Gu masters were also not any inferior. Yingxing continuously took out Dr. Gu, which took human forms and saved people everywhere. Chen Dejiang went through the outer gate, a group of officers moved around him as he joined the front lines with a long sword and a steel chain. Sun Yao gave a bigger surprise to Xiao Qixing, 3 female dancers moved around her, their long sleeves fluttered in the wind and weakened the Divine Being soldiers. Moreover, Sun Yao also held a human path killer move, joy in helping people, this move strengthened her allies. As for Wei Wuxiang, he appeared and disappeared as he moved in the chaotic battle like a fish in water. This guy has already mastered Thief Gu. Xiao Qixing realized. These elites immediately shone brightly the moment they made their moves. Xiao Qixing also felt heavy pressure as he warned himself, I really cannot underestimate these people. This chaotic battle lasted for 5 minutes before the whole street was cleared. Without staying any longer, Xiao Qixing's group marched towards other paintings once again. The Divine Being soldiers in their path were all annihilated. Naturally, they were not the only group who were counterattacking. The warriors in the painting worlds also organized many groups and participated in the battle, killing the Divine Being soldiers. Yi Fan and Hong Yi were also mixed among other groups, they were secretly conversing. These Divine Being soldiers are really odd, there are so many types of them. The 10 great ancient sects members have also grown, we need to conceal ourselves and not be discovered by them. They were the earliest people to enter the painting world. At this moment, their accumulation far surpassed the central continent elites, but Yi Fan and Hong Yi could only move secretly. After all, the Five Regions world was the main world. Once they were discovered by Heavenly Court, the situation would become a mess. The counterattacking groups became faster the more they killed, their efficiency was increasing continuously and casualties were reducing. After they had sufficient experience, they completely saw through the types of Divine Bean soldiers. Yellow Bean Divine soldiers were only cannon fodder, Green Bean soldiers could shoot flying arrows, Red Bean soldiers could self-detonate, Black Bean soldiers had the greatest defense. After understanding the characteristics of the different Divine Bean soldiers, they began to launch targeted attacks. These Divine Bean soldiers were far weaker than their external appearance. The counterattacking groups continued to gain victories and seized back more territories. Finally, they gathered on the city walls of Divine Emperor City. There was an ocean of Divine Bean soldiers outside the city walls. Xiao Qi Sheng could not help taking in a sharp breath when he saw this. The enemy force was overwhelming, it was not something their group could handle. They could only have a chance of defending the city by allying with other groups. Divine Bean soldiers rushed forward without any formation. Xiao Qi Sheng's group attacked with long-range skills from top of the city walls. Divine Bean soldiers were like ants as they began climbing the city walls. The ones guarding the city staked their lives to counterattack, not retreating a step. The whole battlefield was like a huge meat grinder, large amounts of lives were lost every second. This battle lasted 3 days and 3 nights. Xiao Qi Sheng collapsed and sat weakly on the ground. His snowy white military robe was already dyed red with blood. Cheers spread continuously in the surroundings, they had won. This largest group of Divine Bean soldiers was completely exterminated by them. Victory was assured. Next would be to clear up the remaining small groups of Divine Bean soldiers in every painting. Wait a second, we seem to be able to walk out of Divine Emperor City. We can follow the path the Divine Bean soldiers took and attack their base. When they were clearing up the battlefield, many made a big discovery. The troops began to gather once again and battled their way to Fang Dichang. In this painting world, Fang Dichang's strength was greatly reduced, but he still had a group of Divine Bean soldiers around him. So you are the main culprit behind all these. You are going to pay for your sins. Why do you need to kill these innocent people? What grudge do you have against them? Emotions surged, but Xiao Qi Sheng's group glanced at each other and moved towards the rear silently. So the cause of the Divine Bean soldier calamity was him. He is a Gu immortal of Fang clan, Fang Dichang, who had once refined Divine Bean Palace. I did not expect him to still be alive, and he is creating chaos in the painting world. Don't tell me, did our sect send us here to get rid of him? Strange, why didn't Heavenly Court attack and kill Fang Dichang directly? Maybe this is a test for us, or maybe we can only deal with him while following the rules of the painting world. Xiao Qi Sheng's group conversed quickly, their expressions were extremely serious. They were the ones chosen and nurtured by their respective sects, thus they had a lot of information about the Gu immortal world. They had detailed information about the participants of the Fate War. Kill. Take revenge for our friends and family. I will cut him into 1,000 pieces. The Gu masters of the painting world attacked Fang Dichang. A bunch of trash. Fang Dichang stood at the center and commanded his troops calmly. The Divine Bean soldiers beside him changed their formation and moved smoothly like water. The cooperation between the various types of soldiers was extremely smooth and fluid. Instantly, the warriors of the painting world suffered heavy casualties. Xiao Qi Sheng's group was also shocked. The scale of these Divine Bean soldiers is quite small, how could they have such results? With a Gu immortal commanding them, they are completely different from before. What should we do? Battle or retreat? Fight. We have numbers on our side. Fang Dichang might be strong, but the gap between us is not the gap between immortal and mortal. We have a high chance of success. Slaughter the immortal. Someone shouted the slogan which made Xiao Qi Sheng's group extremely excited. The moment they joined in the battle, the Gu masters in the front lines felt like they had received strong reinforcements. In fact, not only them, even Yi Fan and Hong Yi were also mixed in the battle, helping out secretly. Fong Dichang snorted coldly. Under his command, the Divine Being soldiers' formation kept on changing while being extremely stable. Xiao Qixing's group battled hard for a long time, but to their horror, they discovered that the casualty difference between the enemy and their side had reached a terrifying level. There were only negligible losses to the Divine Being soldiers. What should we do? An immortal is still an immortal in the end. Let alone when Fong Dichang is a wisdom path Gu immortal. Xiao Qixing's group's morale fell sharply and they had the thought of retreating, not daring to fight with Fong Dichang. But at this time, Fong Dichang's body shook suddenly as he coughed a mouthful of blood. He snorted coldly and looked up at the sky, laughing coldly. Genesis Lotus Will, you couldn't endure it and took action after all. Fong Dichang was suppressed by Genesis Lotus Will, his control over the Divine Being soldiers was no longer as smooth as before. Xiao Qixing's group immediately felt the pressure on them reducing sharply, they were surprised and happy as they attacked once again. Fong Dichang's Divine Being soldiers continued to fall till they were all annihilated. Fong Dichang had no choice but to attack personally, he rampaged through the army, killing everyone in his path with no one being able to rival him. This did not last long, his condition continued to deteriorate as he began to receive injuries. After some more time, Fong Dichang was soaked in blood and started to stagger. To think that I, Fong Dichang, would actually die in such a place. Fong Dichang shouted in sadness as he self-detonated resolutely. Boom! The Gu masters surrounding him were wiped out with no intact corpses. After a short period of shock, the surviving Gu masters shouted in joy. We won! We finally killed the demon. Sob, father, mother, I have avenged you. Xiao Qixing's group was also excited and their faces were flushed red, we killed an immortal. We succeeded in slaughtering the immortal. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2013, Survival Through Death. 2013 Survival Through Death. Xiao Qixing's group strolled along the streets. The huge battle had just ended, the flourishing and bustling street had turned into a scene of desolation, with no pedestrians moving around. Even if there were, they were mostly injured ones. Fong Dichang is not worthy of being in Western Desert's righteous path. He slaughtered innocents and caused many deaths. Letting him die like this is really letting him go easy. Chen Dejiang said hatefully. Ing Xingji sighed as he added, yes, this was once a place filled with rich vitality. He. You guys are truly funny. Wei Wuxiang laughed, this is only a painting world, it is Genesis Lotus Immortal Venerable's killer move. The people here are not real existences. No matter how many are dead or injured, after a few years, it will be restored back to normal. Yes. Compared to these things, I am more curious about the rewards the sects will give us. Gu Ting said. Xiao Qixing's eyes brightened, we killed an immortal as mortals, and even got rid of the hidden disaster in Divine Emperor City. With such a huge contribution, not only our sects, even Heavenly Court should personally reward us, right? Ha ha ha. Xiao Qixing laughed heartily and was inwardly pleased. He had the best performance and had contributed the most in putting down the Divine Being soldiers and eliminating Fong Dichang. In terms of rewards based on contribution, he would be at the top. In an alley which the group passed by, two beggars were sitting at a corner, looking at everything with indifference. The behaviors of these 10 great ancient sects Gu immortal seeds naturally fell into these two beggars' view. I owe my thanks to you, Brother Shen. One beggar transmitted his voice. The other beggar laughed, should I address you as Fong Yuan, or Fong Dichang? The other beggar replied, I am only a clone, and strictly speaking, I can't even be considered a clone now, I am only a remnant will. So, you don't need to address me as Fong Yuan. As for Fong Dichang, he is already dead, having died by self-detonation. I am a nameless person now, just a lowly beggar remains. Xianxia's eyes shone, "You are too modest. Even without me, you were already prepared to use death to escape." The other beggar nodded, not denying it. "In my previous plan, if I could occupy and seize the painting worlds with the Divine Being soldiers, it would have been the best result. But the chance for this was not high. By preempting the actions to take after defeat, I was naturally prepared for everything. Self-detonation destroyed my body and soul, but this will was secretly left behind." Pausing for a moment, Fang Yuan's will continued, "I have to thank you for your help regardless. If I relied on just my methods, there is a high probability of Genesis Lotus will discovering me. But with you shielding me, it is a completely different case. Xianxia, your human path attainment continues to grow by the day." Xianxia chuckled, "That is true. Since the Fate War, after I deciphered the venerable human path killer moves, my human path attainment rose quite a bit. And after I arrived in this painting world, I acted as a beggar, observing and experiencing life, which gave me a lot of insight. A beggar has a beggar's advantage. Beggars stand at the lowest level of society. They can observe the attitudes of people, experience kindness and harshness, feel hunger and fullness, warmth and cold." Xianxia then changed the topic, asking, "What do you plan to do now? Leave here or continue to stay?" Fang Yuan's will did not hesitate, "I am unable to leave here. Even if only a will remains of me now, it has only temporarily escaped the observation of Genesis Lotus will and has not grasped a way to leave. What about you?" Xianxia also shook his head, "I also haven't found a method to leave. I have already secretly checked those Gu immortal seeds of the 10 great ancient sections. They are able to enter and exit here because they have obtained the approval of Genesis Lotus will. But I believe that as long as I continue to stay in hiding and research, my human path attainment will continue to accumulate and attain a qualitative change. By that time, I can find a method to leave this place." Fang Yuan's will looked deeply at Xianxia. He could see Xianxia was happy to stay in here. However, when Fang Yuan thought of it, it was also not strange. Genesis Lotus Immortal Venerable had made this huge move. He created a special small world to develop human path. Over here, human path was supreme and other paths were secondary. Human path had the greatest development while other paths had little progress. At the same time, this world followed the rules of the mortal world. There was an insignificant gap between immortals and mortals, which was more beneficial for the development of human path. Moreover, the inside and outside were separated. When outsiders came here, they would be isolated from the 5 regions and could not even connect to treasure Yellow Heaven. This stopped information from spreading outside or entering and corrupting the people here. Thus, it created an isolated sacred land of human path. Xianxia primarily cultivated human path. In here, he was like a gluttonous monster that saw absolutely rare delicacies. He was like a fish in water and even felt deeply attached to this place. Fang Yuan's will was currently possessing a body. It was created from Xianxia's beggar Gu. He had 2 choices in front of him now. One was to wait for the main body to rescue him, the other was to cultivate alongside Xianxia and use Xianxia's strength to get free. All the information concerning the Divine Being Soldier calamity was gathered in Qin Dingling's hands. Fang Dichang died by self-detonation. Qin Dingling frowned. This result somewhat disappointed Qin Dingling. She had been hoping to capture this clone of Fang Yuan alive, and through him, deduce the location of Fang Yuan's main body. I did not expect Fang Yuan's clone to resolutely kill himself, but this also conforms to Fang Yuan's vicious personality. Qin Dingling did not hold much doubts. If we could capture him alive, that would have been better. In the painting world, the gap between immortals and mortals is not big. Unfortunately, these Gu immortal seeds have not grown enough and were unable to grasp the opportunity. Qin Dingling sighed inwardly. Xiao Qixing's group thought they made important contributions by slaughtering an immortal, but in her mind, Qin Dingling reviewed it poorly. However, even so, Qin Dingling decided to reward these Gu immortal seeds heavily. They were important cultivation targets after all. After dealing with the matter of rewards, Qin Dingling put her attention on Eastern Seas conflict once again. Eastern Seas conflict was the clash between humans and variant humans. One side was led by Qi Si ancestor while the other was led by Wu Shuai. They had fought several times in the immemorial Two Heavens as well as sea areas of Eastern Sea, and the battles were becoming increasingly fierce. After Qi ancestor saved profound literature Grotto Heaven, he united several Grotto Heaven forces in the Two Heavens. Although Wu Shuai was defeated, he was not willing to show any weakness. On one hand, he gathered the forces of the Two Heavens that joined him, on the other hand, he ambushed and invaded those Grotto Heaven forces that wanted to wait and see. Wu Shuai's direction was extremely clear and blunt. Before attacking the 5 regions, he must clean up the Two Heavens to stabilize their base. On one hand, this was because the distance between the Two Heavens' Grotto Heavens was short and they could dispatch troops easily. If Wu Shuai ignored this, when the main army was outside in the future, the Grotto Heavens only needed to pose an attack and it could cause Wu Shuai's army to end up losing their home ground. On the other hand, Qi harvest fruits of various sizes had appeared in Grotto Heavens of Wu Shuai's subordinates. Every time Wu Shuai attacked another Grotto Heaven, he would test the variant human Gu immortal suggestions to get rid of the Qi harvest fruits. Wu Shuai's side was in dire need of such trial and error. Because of Wu Shuai's violent strategy, more and more human forces in the Two Heavens sought Qi ancestor's protection. Qi ancestor defended the Grotto Heavens while integrating various forces. But on the whole, they were still at a disadvantage. Wu Shuai's Two Heavens alliance was strengthening at a much faster speed than Qi ancestors. He was actively protecting the variant humans' benefits, which caused increasingly more variant human Grotto Heavens to join him. In the Two Heavens, variant human Grotto Heavens were much larger in numbers than human Grotto Heavens. The final batch of variant human forces who adopted the thought of waiting and seeing took the initiative to side with Wu Shuai. On one hand, they were forced to because of the situation, on the other hand, if they did not surrender, there was no hope in resolving the hidden danger of the Qi harvest fruits in their Grotto Heavens. Wu Shuai's prestige soared, but the Qi harvest fruits issue was still troubling him. The Two Heavens alliance tested many methods, but they had all failed in eliminating Qi harvest fruits. Over at Qi ancestor's side, the progress in researching the mysteries of Qi harvest fruit was also quite slow. Wu Shuai's and Qi ancestor's sides fought frequently, but there were not many casualties. It was because both sides were not focused on eliminating the other side, but on clearing up the danger of the Qi harvest fruits. The one who knows the most about the mysteries of the Qi harvest fruit is probably Demon Immortal Qi Ju. Unfortunately, my strength is restrained at present and unable to deal with him. Fang Yuan sighed in pity. He had already resolved the huge problem of Heaven's will, but he still had no clue as to how to refine Heaven Path Dao marks. Demon Immortal Qi Ju, who Fang Yuan was thinking about, had currently arrived at Western Desert. It should be nearby. Demon Immortal Qi Ju flew low and searched everywhere. He did not succeed in borrowing Gu from Qi ancestor, so he used Qi Path investigative methods to search for other Qi Path Immortal Gu. And on this search, he found several Qi Path Immortal Gu. These Qi Path Immortal Gu were mostly wild Immortal Gu. They were naturally born after enormous Qi tides. As for the rest, they were looted from other Gu immortals. Demon Immortal Qi Ju did not go overboard, he only looted Qi Path Immortal Gu and spared the Gu immortals. Moving and stopping along the way, Demon Immortal Qi Ju gradually left Eastern Sea and arrived at Western Desert. I deduced that a Qi Path Immortal Gu is near here. Just as Demon Immortal Qi Ju was mumbling, a Gu immortal suddenly appeared within his investigative range. Rank 8 Gu Immortal, Red Heart Traveler. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2014, Qi Ju takes blood Qi. 2014 Qi Ju takes blood Qi. Seeing this Gu immortal, who was wearing a headband and a green robe, having a tall and powerful stance and handsome appearance, Demon Immortal Qi Ju's mind shook. That Qi Path Immortal Gu I deduced, could it be on this person? The moment this thought emerged, Demon Immortal Qi Ju attacked. With a loud sound, a giant white Qi hand moved to catch Red Heart Traveler. Almost at the same time that Demon Immortal Qi Ju discovered Red Heart Traveler also discovered Demon Immortal Qi Ju. Demon Immortal Qi Ju did not recognize Red Heart Traveler, but Red Heart Traveler already had Heavenly Court's first-hand information on Demon Immortal Gu. Seeing the white Qi hand fly towards him, Red Heart Traveler's heart jumped and he quickly evaded. Red Heart Traveler was a Heavenly Court Gu Immortal and the previous Demon Judgment Board leader. He was very strong. During the Fate War, he came to Western Desert and disguised as a Blood Path demonic immortal, attracting the attention of many super forces of Western Desert's righteous path, thus restraining a large number of hostile forces for Central Continent. Looking at the whole of Western Desert's Gu Immortal world, Red Heart Traveler had the confidence to fight against almost any Western Desert Gu Immortal. But right now, his opponent was Demon Immortal Gu, one of the strongest Gu Immortals in the present age. Red Heart Traveler was well aware that he was not Demon Immortal Gu's match. The gap was too large, and the loser of this battle was certain to be him. So Red Heart Traveler retreated without any hesitation. At the next moment, Demon Immortal Gu saw a lump of blood-red light emerge behind Red Heart Traveler's head, after which the latter's speed increased sharply and was able to dodge his Qi hand. Demon Immortal Gu exclaimed slightly, mumbling inwardly, "Blood Path again? It seems like Blood Path is very prolific in this age." Demon Immortal Gu was naturally not willing to let go of Red Heart Traveler so easily, so he gave chase. One chased and one fled, they had soon traveled over 10,000 li. To his surprise, Demon Immortal Gu discovered his main movement method was actually unable to catch up to Red Heart Traveler. Naturally, he was not left behind in the dust either. "I have already modified my movement method but I am still unable to catch up to this person." "Who is this person?" "A rank 8 Blood Path Gu Immortal." Demon Immortal Gu searched his memories and gradually found some clues. He had previously soul-searched Qing Huizi and obtained a lot of information. Red Heart Traveler's true identity was not exposed but he created havoc in Western Desert, and with the sensitive identity of a rank 8 Blood Path expert, information regarding him was already spread in Treasure Yellow Heaven and every Gu Immortal in the world had learned of it. After chasing for some more time, Demon Immortal Gu suddenly shouted, "Where exactly are you running to?" His preparation was finished, he activated a killer move. Red Heart Traveler immediately felt the surrounding Qi currents engulf him, severely affecting his speed. He sighed inwardly, he could only turn around and fight Demon Immortal Gu. Demon Immortal Gu's moves were majestic and powerful, milky white Qi currents surged like a tsunami with unstoppable might. When they truly fought, there was no surprise, Red Heart Traveler fell into a disadvantage. But his methods also were not weak. Blood-red light spread and blood-red flowers bloomed, there was no evil feeling, on the contrary, they were warm and righteous as they defended him. Red Heart Traveler struggled with all his might, but in just several rounds, his whole body was soaked with sweat. He sighed internally, as expected of a monster that was recorded in history, he is too strong. Red Heart Traveler felt he was like a small boat that was using all its strength to dodge and delay for time under the tidal wave-like attacks of Demon Immortal Gu. After several more rounds, Red Heart Traveler was already in a perilous situation. At this time, there was suddenly a beast roar. An immemorial desolate beast drilled out from the desert and went for a surprise attack on Demon Immortal Gu from behind. Demon Immortal Gu was caught off guard but he did not panic, he waved his hand and a mountain-like giant Qi hand slammed into the immemorial desolate beast. But just as this immemorial desolate beast was about to be struck by the giant hand, it suddenly let out bright light and transformed into an immemorial swallow that shot towards Demon Immortal Gu like a black arrow. So it is a transformation path Gu Immortal. Haha, interesting. Demon Immortal Gu was slightly surprised, he praised while he fought against this immortal. The aid was from 9 Spiritual Fairy. She and Red Heart Traveler had come to Western Desert together to help each other out. With her reinforcement, Red Heart Traveler's situation immediately turned better, he managed to escape from the horrible outcome of death. "We can't fight for long. This old demon is truly terrifying, we are not his match. We are only able to resist him now because he is not familiar with our methods yet." Red Heart Traveler hurriedly transmitted his voice. He had fought Demon Immortal Gu and felt the terror of an expert at the peak of the present age. Demon Immortal Gu was unable to get rid of him because he had resurrected not long ago and had yet to completely adapt to the changes. If they truly fought, it was only a matter of time before Heavenly Court's 2 immortals were killed by demon immortal Gu. I have an idea, follow me. 9 Spiritual Fairy transmitted her voice, retreating while fighting. Demon immortal Gu chased after the 2 immortals all the way to a desert. 9 Spiritual Fairy suddenly transformed into an immemorial desolate beast and held Red Heart Traveler in her mouth before plunging into the desert. Demon immortal Gu snorted coldly, foolish action. With a clap of his hands, heaven and earth shook. Milky white chi current slammed the desert surface like a tsunami. The surrounding 100 li of desert was forcibly pressed down to over 10 feet deep. 9 Spiritual Fairy let out a muffled groan as she suffered heavy injuries. Red Heart Traveler quickly used healing methods on her. 9 Spiritual Fairy did not dare to return to fighting and concentrated only on moving deeper into the ground. Demon immortal Gu was just about to plunge into the desert and continue chasing when he suddenly heard a beast roar. At the next moment, a huge immemorial soul beast flew out of the nearby desert ground. Demon immortal Gu's pupils shrunk slightly when he saw this immemorial soul beast. This immemorial soul beast had a strange shape and looked quite furious. It had a tortoise shell, 4 tiger paws, dragon tail, snake neck, and a human head. Its head was full of disheveled hair and its eyes were letting out ominous light and fury. This was a legendary immemorial desolate beast with many immortal Gu. Oh, you found Xianxia. Seeing demon immortal Gu tangled with the immemorial soul beast, Red Heart Traveler exclaimed in shock. This immemorial soul beast was Xianxia. After Divine Bean Palace was seized by Fang clan, Xianxia left Divine Bean Palace and hid itself in some areas. But in the Fate War, Divine Bean Palace and Emperor City had merged into one and Genesis Lotus was in control of it. After the Fate War, Genesis Lotus will naturally handed all kinds of information to Heavenly Court. Not only did Qin Dingling know of Fang Di Chang's true identity, she also obtained information on Xianxia. Divine Bean Palace had imprisoned Xianxia for so many years, Genesis Lotus will had an extremely high understanding of it and knew of a secret method to find it. Qin Dingling obtained this secret method and secretly commanded 9 Spiritual Fairy to search for Xianxia and subdue it. Xianxia was a legendary immemorial beast. Not only did it have outstanding battle strength, it also had a natural ability to recognize everything related to spectral soul. If Heavenly Court obtained it, not only could they deal with Fang Yuan, they could even deal with spectral soul. It could be considered as killing 2 birds with 1 stone. 9 Spiritual Fairy had found Xianxia's location not long ago, but her strength was insufficient and she had no confidence in succeeding. When Red Heart Traveler ran into Demon Immortal Gu, she thought of a plan to lure Demon Immortal Gu into fighting with Xianxia. Amazing, like this, we can watch from the sidelines and even possibly benefit from their conflict. Red Heart Traveler smiled. Xianxia is not Demon Immortal Gu's match, we need to observe the situation before making a decision. 9 Spiritual Fairy talked while moving deeper into the ground. The further away they were from the battlefield, the better. However, beyond the expectations of Heavenly Court's 2 immortals, Demon Immortal Gu felt something amiss and breathed out boundless chi currents that filled the sky. He entered them and quickly disappeared. Without an opponent, Xianxia also chose to leave the battlefield, escaping to the horizons. Deep underground, Heavenly Court's 2 immortals looked at each other. Red Heart Traveler suddenly said, "Damn it! That Blood Sea true inheritance is going to be taken." 9 Spiritual Fairy was stunned for a moment before reacting. You really found that Blood Path true inheritance? Red Heart Traveler nodded, sighing. Heavenly Court's clues were not wrong. The crucial key was the chi tide that exposed the Blood Sea true inheritance. I searched for over half a month before finally arriving at the location. But I ran into Demon Immortal Gu over there. 9 Spiritual Fairy was silent. Meanwhile, Demon Immortal Gu returned back to the original spot. It is really here. He inspected for a while, discovering the target was still here and had not moved. After trying for a while more, he successfully obtained this Blood Sea true inheritance. Back then, Blood Sea Ancestor had set up hundreds of thousands of inheritance sites that spread over Central Continent, Southern Border, Northern Plains, Western Desert and Eastern Sea. Among them, there were 9 true inheritances. One of the true inheritances had now fallen into demon immortal Qi Ju's hands. Blood Path True Inheritance. Amazing, with this true inheritance, it will be several times easier for me to deal with Blood Path Gu immortals. And this Blood Qi Immortal Gu is really suitable for me. Ha ha ha. Demon Immortal Qi Ju laughed heartily. Almost all the killer moves he activated before consumed Qi Path Immortal materials. Now that he obtained a Qi Path Immortal Gu, his strength was raised further. Although there was still some difference from his peak condition in history, he was already much stronger than when he fought Fang Yuan. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2015, Sand Wolf City's Huge Change. 2015 Sand Wolf City's Huge Change. Western Desert. Wind blew hard and sand flew everywhere. A merchant caravan pulled by camels was moving with difficulty through the barren desert. Oh heavens, we finally returned to Sand Wolf City. Inside the caravan, Pingda spoke with deep emotions as he showed an exhausted expression. Gu Master Emoli was sitting on a camel to the side. He looked at Pingda and laughed. Kid, your words are quite different from when we moved out the first time. Pingda's face flushed a little. When Emoli had just organized the merchant caravan, Pingda had been extremely excited and thought the adventure would be amazing and fun. But after a few caravan trips, Pingda had already fully realized his former naivety. In this world, peddling was not only difficult and extremely dangerous, it was also extremely tiring. With even some slight carelessness, his fragile life would be lost in a vast and merciless desert. However, Pingda's emotions resonated with other Gu masters in the merchant caravan. Yes, we are back home again. We did not encounter any danger in this journey, but it was truly exhausting. I am going to take a good bath after returning. I am already unable to control myself. I'll go drink my fill at the tavern, ahaha. Emoli smiled. He thought of his wife as well as his son, who had changed a lot recently. His son was selected and was heavily cultivated. His prodigal son had truly turned over a new leaf. These beautiful wonders of life gave Emoli brand new hope and motivation. Being a caravan merchant was difficult, but he found joy in his own way. Wait, something is going on. The investigative Gu master who was at the forefront of the caravan suddenly shouted. Pingda immediately tensed up while also feeling somewhat strange. According to common sense, this was near Sand Wolf City and there should be no danger here. So why was there the sudden warning? Emoli immediately activated his investigative Gu worm. His body slightly stiffened as he shouted, "The situation is strange, rush forward with full speed." Pingda and the rest did not know the reason, but seeing Emoli take the lead, they naturally believed in the merchant caravan leader and followed quickly. When they got close to Sand Wolf City, they did not even need to use Gu worms to discover the abnormalities. Puffs of gray smoke curled upwards. There was also fire and a burnt smell in the air that all came from Sand Wolf City. Everyone in the merchant caravan had a bad feeling as they moved even faster. Finally, they arrived in front of Sand Wolf City's gate. Impossible. What exactly is going on? Oh heavens, this is a dream, right? It must be a dream. Some of the merchant caravan members simply knelt on the ground, some broke down and started crying. Even the most stable, leader Emoli, was standing in a daze. Pingda's eyes were wide open as he looked at the scene in front of him in disbelief. The flowering Sand Wolf City had now become ruins. There were corpses everywhere, rubble and wreckage littered the roads, fire burned and smoke was everywhere. The scene was too horrible to look at. Emoli mumbled when he suddenly jolted, running towards the inner city. His movement jolted many people. Gu masters began rushing to their homes. Pingda did not have a home, so he rode a camel and followed Emoli. Emoli was fast, and with anxiety burning his heart, he directly left Pingda far behind. Fortunately, Pingda had returned to Sand Wolf City several times and knew the path to Emoli's home. When Pingda reached Emoli's home, he saw ruins. Mo Li was kneeling on the ground, silently looking at his wife's corpse that he had dug out. Peng De, however, sensed deep sadness from Mo Li's silence. How could this be? What exactly happened here? While Peng De was sad, even more so, he was bewildered. As far as he was concerned, Sand Wolf City was a large city with many Gu masters stationed here, but it was actually destroyed and turned into a city devoid of life. What kind of strength could have the power to destroy the whole of Sand Wolf City? Was it a Chi-Tai disaster? But it did not look like that at all from the traces. This world is truly too dangerous. People are living in danger, even Gu masters are the same. There is simply no safe place. Peng De felt his insignificance growing increasingly. He looked at Mo Li, who was kneeling like a statue, and opened his mouth several times before finally saying, "Uncle, we need to pull ourselves together. Don't forget you still have a son." These words shook Missouri Li, his eyes lit up with some hope once again. "Peng De, thank you for your reminder. My son is still in the inner city area, he is a Gu immortal seed and is heavily nurtured. He must be okay, he has to be guarded properly. Let's go find him." Mo Li carried his wife's corpse and rushed towards the inner city area with Peng De. The whole inner city area had turned into a huge crater. The inner city area was gone. Several caravan members were standing at the edge of the crater, watching it blankly. Mo Li walked towards them and looked at the huge crater in front of him, his face turned extremely pale and his lips trembled, unable to say anything. Peng De took in a sharp breath of air. He could see this huge crater was a beast's footprint. Such a large footprint meant this beast was unimaginably huge. This is not man-made. A beast calamity. A mountain-sized beast attacked Sand Wolf City and killed everyone. The caravan members analyzed and started weeping again. Mo Li fell into deathly silence and Peng De did not know how to console him. Mo Li once had a beautiful home and now it was all gone, only he himself was remaining. As far as Mo Li was concerned, as far as the surviving caravan members were concerned, fate was simply too cruel. Boom! Just at this time, there was a sonic boom in the sky above everyone. This sound immediately attracted everyone's attention. Could it be that the giant beast did not leave? Peng De quickly raised his head and saw two figures floating in the sky. Gu immortals. The other Gu masters shouted. Disaster befell this place as well. The Gu immortals in the sky talked, their voices echoing and spreading below, they did not conceal it. This damned beast, it has caused my Mo clan to suffer such disastrous losses. Wait until I capture it, I will pull out its tendons and flay its skin to ease my anger. Another Gu immortal said in fury. Let's go, we will catch up to it soon. The two Gu immortals quickly flew away. The Gu masters on the ground were silent for a while when someone suddenly started to cry out loud. Father, mother, you died so miserably. I, your son, cannot avenge you, but the immortals will uphold justice for you. Peng De was silent, his mood was extremely heavy. At this moment, he suddenly had a realization, even if one becomes a Gu master, even if they are a rank 5 Gu master, what use is it? Only by becoming a Gu immortal could they have some sort of control over their own fate in this world. I want to follow them to take a look. Mo Li suddenly said with a resolute expression. Leader, are you crazy? The surrounding Gu masters quickly persuaded. Mo Li's attitude was firm, I am incompetent. I cannot avenge my wife and child, but I will stake all my strength to see the death of the culprit with my own 2 eyes. If I can't even grasp this chance, even if I live on, I will feel regret for the rest of my life. These words resonated with the remaining Gu masters, they agreed and expressed that they wanted to move alongside Mo Li to see justice being upheld. Uncle, I also want to follow you. Peng De said. You should stay behind, kid. Mo Li's expression softened somewhat as he looked at Peng De. Peng De smiled bitterly, Uncle, you have saved me time and time again, you are my closest person in this world. Since I followed you, I will definitely not separate with you at this crucial moment. Let me continue to follow you, Uncle. Mo Li looked deeply at Peng De for a good while before nodding and saying with a hoarse voice, then follow me, rascal. The group of Gu masters followed the direction the Gu immortals flew towards and left the ruins of Sand Wolf City. On the way, the footprints of the giant beast was exceptionally obvious, which kept them on the correct path. They rushed like this for a day and a night when they suddenly heard thunder in the horizon. This is not thunder, it is the fight between the Gu immortals and the giant beast. Listen closely, you can vaguely hear a beast's howl. The Gu masters were excited as they sped up, wanting to get closer. But at this time, a dark chi current sprayed out like a rainbow crossing the sky. A thread of the chi current fell near the Gu masters. A trace of the dark chi brushed past a Gu master's shoulder. That Gu master suddenly cried out in terror, his skin and muscles started rotting and he soon melted into a white skeleton. Everyone was horrified at this shocking change and quickly escaped in all directions. Fortunately, the dark chi dispersed with the wind and did not linger. It is too dangerous to go closer. This is only the after effect of the fight between the Gu immortals and the giant beast, we have no strength to resist it. If we move in any closer, we will lose our lives. Most of the Gu masters stopped and turned back. I still want to try it. You can leave. Mo Li was the only remaining Gu master. Pengda still wanted to follow him, but this time, Mo Li's attitude was firm, he drove him away. Alone, Mo Li moved some distance with difficulty. When he climbed up a sand dune and looked, he could not help taking in a sharp breath at what he saw. Far away in the horizon, dark fog covered everywhere. The fog was clearly the dark chi current from earlier. In the dark fog, Mo Li could vaguely see a figure of a mountain-sized beast as well as the occasional lightning flashes. Mo Li breathed in deeply and was about to continue moving forward when he was suddenly hugged from behind. "Uncle, do you want to die? Don't go any forward, you will lose your life." Pengda shouted. "Brat, why haven't you left yet?" Mo Li was furious. Pengda said with sincerity, "Uncle, you are my benefactor, how can I forget your kindness and watch you send yourself to death's door? I know you want to die, your condition is not right, I have been following you all the way but you were unable to discover me. Uncle, live on, don't kill yourself." But Mo Li was not persuaded. "Brat, get lost." "I won't." "Screw off. This has nothing to do with you. You are still young and have a long life ahead of you, don't come here to die." "Uncle, I will save you." "I don't need you to save me, even if I die, I will stake my life to take revenge. Even if it is an insignificant attack, as long as it lands on that damned beast, I will be satisfied." Boom! Just as the two were bickering, a hurricane flew over from the battle on the horizon. The hurricane was like a pillar that connected heaven and earth, it moved quickly towards the two. Damn it! Pengda and Mo Li simply did not have the time to dodge and were swept away by the hurricane. The two insignificant figures disappeared into the violent hurricane in an instant. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2016, Dazzling Smile. 2016 Dazzling Smile. Western Desert. Dark clouds covered the sky and thunder rumbled as the fierce fight of the Mo clan Gu immortals with the mysterious giant beast continued. "Die, beast! I will tear out your bones and tendons as resources to compensate for the losses my Mo clan suffered." The two Mo clan Gu immortals were furious, the giant beast brought disaster to Mo clan, causing heavy losses. The areas these two were responsible for suffered even more severe damage. "You want to kill me?" During the battle, the mysterious giant beast suddenly spoke human words. Mo clan's two immortals were shocked and their hearts jumped wildly. At the same moment, the giant beast opened its mouth and shot out its long purple-red tongue. The long tongue moved with astonishing speed and pierced through a Mo clan Gu immortal's body. Almost instantaneously, this Mo clan Gu immortal was corroded by the strong poison and turned into nothingness. Only the immortal aperture turned into an indistinct light speck and fell to the ground. "You are a legendary immemorial beast." The remaining Mo clan Gu immortal was horrified and retreated in panic. But it was already late. The mysterious giant beast was Qin Cho. It laughed coldly as ghost chi started surging around it. The dense layers of ghost chi turned into ghostly figures which blocked the Mo clan Gu immortal. Xianxia closed in slowly. Didn't you want to kill me and pull out my bones and tendons? Mo clan's Gu immortal shouted in fear, spare me, I belong to Mo clan. Spare me and Mo clan won't pursue you any further. Pursue me? Hearing this, a trace of anger flashed past Xianxia's face. You two idiots do not even know you are being used by others. Go and die. Ah! The Mo clan Gu immortal let out a painful shriek as ghostly figures pounced on and killed them. After killing these two Gu immortals, Xianxia looked towards the desert. Sand flew wildly on the ground, turning into a giant monster. It was an immemorial sand monster. This was the assistance brought by the Mo clan Gu immortals. They were able to restrain Xianxia by using it. But the Mo clan Gu immortals had not expected Xianxia to be a legendary immemorial desolate beast with wisdom that surpassed ordinary humans. Xianxia took advantage of this point, pretending to be an ordinary immemorial desolate beast, which made the Mo clan immortals complacent and relaxed their guard. Then with Xianxia's fierce counterattack, the immortals died. With the death of the Mo clan immortals, this immemorial sand monster was no longer controlled. Its movement began to slow down and it stood on the ground while looking at Xianxia. Xianxia stared at the immemorial sand monster. Get lost. The immemorial sand monster shook with fear and immediately turned around, plunging into the desert and escaping. Xianxia scared away the monster, but the surrounding ghost chi intensified further. It looked at a certain area in the sky and sneered, "Two despicable worms, are you still not coming out?" The moment its words came out, Heavenly Court's two immortals, 9 Spiritual Fairy and Red Heart Traveler, slowly showed themselves. They were floating in the sky side by side and were looking down at Xianxia. Previously, when Red Heart Traveler was searching for the Blood Sea True Inheritance, he was obstructed by Demon Immortal Chi Ju. After realizing Demon Immortal Chi Ju's goal, Red Heart Traveler resolutely gave up on the Blood Sea True Inheritance and continued to chase Xianxia with 9 Spiritual Fairy. After all, Xianxia's matter concerned Heavenly Court's plan. And, even if he got the Blood Sea True Inheritance, it would only raise Red Heart Traveler's strength. The more important thing was clear with one glance. 9 Spiritual Fairy and Red Heart Traveler possessed Heavenly Court's secret method, so they continued to trace and soon discovered Xianxia. But the two did not dare to make a move rashly. This was Western Desert, enemies were all around them, and it was not the territory of these two immortals. If they rashly started a fight, with the other being a legendary immemorial desolate beast, once the fight entered a stalemate, Western Desert's native Gu immortals would interfere and the situation would become too unstable. After some discussion, 9 Spiritual Fairy transformed into an immemorial desolate beast and destroyed the surrounding resource points, attracting some Mo clan Gu immortals. The two Mo clan immortals brought an immemorial sand monster, but they were not even able to make Xianxia expend its energy. Instead, Xianxia discovered traces of the two Heavenly Court immortals. With their plan failing and Xianxia exposing their position, the two Heavenly Court immortals showed themselves and attacked. Boom boom boom. The two immortals were both rank 8 and were extraordinary indeed. Their moves were violent and their attacks were like unceasing waves. Xianxia immediately fell into a disadvantage. But Xianxia was an immemorial desolate beast, its body was extremely tough and thick, there was no injury even after getting hit by several rank 8 killer moves. After dozens of exchanges, it became familiar with the techniques of the Heavenly Court immortals and began to slowly turn around the situation. However, this did not last long, a chi tide began to appear. It was because the immortal apertures of the dead Mo clan immortals had opened the entrance and started to absorb heaven and earth chi to stabilize themselves. There was a difference in the heaven and earth chi in these two immortal apertures and the outside world, and along with the accumulated impact from the fights between the Gu immortals and Xianxia, a giant chi tide was formed. Xianxia suffered heavy restriction in the chi tide, its strength fell sharply. On the contrary, the two Heavenly Court immortals had offered their immortal apertures and only had phantom apertures, thus they were not affected too much in the chi tide. Xianxia roared and struggled, but it was all in vain. It then realized that the two Heavenly Court immortals still had another layer of planning. They did not just use the two Western Desert immortals, they even calculated their immortal apertures in their plan. Just as Xianxia was fighting bitterly, Pengde shook his head and opened his eyes. Where am I? After a moment of daze, he discovered he was being carried by Mo Li and they were moving on a huge sand dune. Uncle, you saved me again. Pengde sighed. You are awake. Mo Li smiled. Uncle, you can put me down. But Mo Li shook his head. Your injuries are severe, although I healed you, you should not move within a short period of time. Pengde smiled bitterly. I have troubled Uncle again. Where is this? Mo Li replied, Sigh, we were swept away for over 10,000 li by the hurricane, we are now going back. Mo Li had lived many years in the desert, he naturally had a method to distinguish the directions. Pengde was immediately worried after hearing Mo Li's words, Uncle, you still want to return? You want to go back and die? Mo Li was silent for a while, his voice was low and deep, containing resolution. I also know returning is risky, but if I don't even see the appearance of the killer of my wife and son, I will never be able to rest easy. Uncle. Pengde did not know what to say. He understood the sadness and hatred Mo Li was feeling right now, and it was because of this, he was unable to persuade him further. Mo Li continued, Brat, I am thankful for your concern. After we travel a bit further, I will drop you off with enough water and food. It won't be an issue for you to cross the desert and get to the nearest city. Uncle, I won't leave, I can't leave you alone. Don't make a scene. I am not making a scene, you are the one who is irrational. Just as the two were quarreling, the sand below Mo Li began to move and formed a huge whirlpool that sucked both of them inside. Mo Li quickly used his goo worms but it was of no use. He was pale with shock. What is going on? My goo worms actually have no effect. Pengde also tried with no result, his face was extremely pale. Is this quicksand? We are going to be sucked in. This quicksand was too strange, their methods were useless on it. The two were getting closer and closer to the center of the quicksand, their bodies were slowly buried under the sand and their faces were ashen. Am I going to die? Pengde mumbled. Mo Li heaved a deep sigh. I implicated you, Pengde. I don't blame you, uncle. It was all my choice. Pengde felt his heart beating wildly and his throat parched, he did not know what to express. The feeling before impending death was really the worst. But soon, Pengde's attention was caught by another thing. He found that Uncle Mo Li, who usually had great mental fortitude, was actually crying. Mo Li sobbed, I am going to die but my revenge has yet to be done. I did not even see the killer's true appearance. I am too weak, too weak. I don't even have the qualifications to approach the enemy. The gap between immortals and mortals is too big, I am only a mortal, I am like an ant. Pengde opened his mouth to console Mo Li, but he did not know what to say. At the next moment, the hot sand poured into his mouth as Pengde quickly closed it. His whole body was buried and his sight was filled with darkness. Am I going to die? I am dying like this. He, I am truly pitiful, to think that my journey in this new world is going to end like this. I really don't want to die, I really don't want to die. Suddenly, in his dark vision, there were specks of starlight. Ha! I didn't die. Pengde sat up and looked at the scene in front of him in disbelief. He was now at the bottom of a dry well, the quicksand whirlpool continued to rotate in the entrance of the well, but the strange thing was that the sand did not fall down. There was a mysterious force here that stopped the quicksand whirlpool and only allowed Pengde and Mo Li to enter it. Uncle, uncle. Pengde immediately saw Mo Li and shouted twice before he got a reaction. Kid, you are awake. This is an immortal opportunity, we have struck gold. Mo Li turned around, saying with excitement and shock, this is very likely an inheritance left by a Gu immortal. Uncle, you are certain? Pengde's eyes opened in incredulity, this was too dreamlike, the ups and downs of life came too suddenly. He was not a greenhorn who had just transmigrated. The current Pengda had traveled with Mo Li's caravan many times and knew about the Gu world. Gu immortals and Gu immortal inheritances were always a topic of discussion among Gu masters in their idle time. He did not expect the unreachable thing to appear in front of him now. Damn it, damn it. Why is there no reaction? Mo Li attempted many things and was getting restless, but the starlight showed no reaction. Uncle, this might not be a Gu immortal inheritance, right? I feel like you are thinking too much. At this time, Pengda finally stood up and walked towards Mo Li. Mo Li did not retort, he also began to doubt his previous judgment. But right at this time, the starlight suddenly made a movement. Like tidal waves, they passed by Mo Li and entered Pengda's body. The two were shocked. This happened so fast that when they reacted, the starlight had already entered Pengda's body. Without the starlight, the well fell into darkness. Mo Li activated his Gu worm, creating a lump of fire in his hand that brightened the well once again. Pengda was standing on the spot in daze like a statue with his eyes wide open. Mo Li quickly neared him. Pengda, Pengda. Are you alright? Only then did Pengda react. Uncle, you were correct, this is truly a Gu immortal inheritance and it is Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable's inheritance. What, Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable? Mo Li was shaken. They had a lot of understanding regarding venerable existences as well. Due to the current time and situation, the Gu immortal world's knowledge was no longer secret among mortals. Mo Li's gaze turned slightly complicated. This means to say, Pengda, you are an otherworldly demon. No wonder the inheritance did not respond to me. Pengda felt ashamed. Uncle, I didn't intentionally conceal it from you. It was just that. Alright. Mo Li waved his hand. So what if you are an otherworldly demon? You are still Pengda, the person I know, isn't that so? Pengda was extremely moved and nodded his head quickly. Yes. Thank you for understanding, uncle. Mo Li shook his hand. Alright, you really struck it big this time. Since you inherited the Demon Venerable's inheritance, then use the method to leave here quickly. Ordinary methods are useless here. Pengda felt ashamed. The situation is like this, uncle, although I have many Gu worms, I cannot use them. This is the first time I am seeing these Gu worms and need a lot of practice. Moreover, according to the inheritance, I must use one of the killer moves to leave here. Then practice it quickly, ask anything you don't understand, uncle will guide you. Yes, thank you uncle. Is there still a need for thanks between us? Mo Li smiled, practice quickly, we don't have much water and food. As the inheritor, it did not matter if Pengda ate or drank in the well, but Mo Li could not share the same benefit. Over the next few days, Pengda practiced without resting. He was only a mortal, so the Gu worms he practiced with were all mortal Gu. This was the first time he was coming in contact with these Gu worms. Although there were detailed explanations in the inheritance, he still needed to practice and master these Gu worms. Mo Li helped Pengda to study and learn. Once they had some progress, Pengda would hand the Gu worms to Mo Li for demonstration and guidance. Mo Li was an experienced Gu master. Although he did not have the qualifications to inherit the Thieving Heaven true inheritance, he had much more efficient ways to probe these Gu worms. Finally, Pengda was barely able to master the usage of several Gu worms and found a way to use a killer move. Go on Pengda, try to succeed in one attempt. Mo Li encouraged Pengda. Watch this, uncle. Pengda used the killer move for the first time, but it did not succeed. The killer move activation failed and he suffered backlash. He coughed blood and fell on the ground. Pengda, are you okay? Mo Li quickly inspected Pengda's body. Pengda squeezed words out through his mouth. I have disappointed you, uncle. But rest assured, I will definitely. Suddenly, his eyes opened wide. He then looked at his chest with an incredulous expression. His chest was pierced through by Mo Li's hand. His heart was destroyed because of this sneak attack. Uncle. Even more blood started flowing out of Pengda's mouth. Mo Li raised his head slowly, his eyes were filled with tears and his expression was extremely twisted. Unfamiliarity and fear filled Pengda's mind. Mo Li's voice was extremely hoarse. I want revenge, I want revenge. But the true inheritance chose you, uncle had no other options, Peng De. You are too young, you practiced for so long but you could not even master a killer move. Uncle cannot wait any longer, uncle cannot depend on you. Mo Li then took out his hand. Peng De powerlessly fell onto the ground, his eyes helplessly looking at the entrance of the well. He was dead. But Mo Li did not stop, he activated his Gu worms and captured Peng Da's soul. Alright, the thieving heaven true inheritance is mine now. Mo Li laughed. Peng Da's blood was splattered on his blood-stained face had a dazzling smile. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know, report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2017, by Ning Bing vs. He Lulan. 2017 by Ning Bing vs. He Lulan. Central Continent, on a certain nameless and ordinary peak. Four Gu immortals arrived at the base of the mountain while concealing themselves. He Lulan is on this mountain. Wu Xie looked at the peak and spoke. At his sides were Fairy Ziwei, Old Man Jing Yuan, and Bai Ning Bing. After Fairy Ziwei and Old Man Jing Yuan forced Bai Ning Bing to surrender, they obtained Wu Xie's whereabouts. Wu Xie was a split soul of spectral soul and his mission had always been to rescue his main body. But due to his strength and Fang Yuan's arrangements, Wu Xie could not enter Heavenly Court. After the Fate War, Fate Gu was destroyed and Fang Yuan escaped, while Wu Xie wandered around Central Continent, resenting Fang Yuan for not saving Spectral Soul's main body. After Fairy Ziwei provided enough evidence, Wu Xie learned his main body was no longer in Heavenly Court and had gotten free by himself. Wu Xie was exulted, he directly abandoned Fang Yuan and joined Fairy Ziwei's group. Through Wu Xie, Fairy Ziwei's group learned that he had just recently separated from He Lulan. Thus, the four immortals quietly arrived at this place. Wu Xie said softly, He Lulan is a formidable person, although her cultivation is low and her battle strength is not high because future self has lost its effect, she has great endurance and knows how to wait patiently, she is ambitious and cannot be looked down upon. Wu Xie did not doubt his side strength, but what he was most worried was if He Lulan would side with them and betray Fang Yuan or not. In this aspect, Fairy Ziwei was confident, she said with a smile, I have full confidence in making He Lulan surrender. She has a complex relationship with Fang Yuan, but it is not firm. He Lulan wants to kill her own father for revenge, this is her greatest wish. Fang Yuan has captured He Cheng and because his strength is higher than He Lulan's, she has always been controlled by him. We can use this to make her surrender. Know yourself and your enemy, and you will never be defeated. Back then, Fairy Ziwei tried all sorts of methods to deduce Fang Yuan's position, but could not do anything because Fang Yuan was slippery like an eel and his most skilled wisdom path aspect was in blocking deductions. Fairy Ziwei could not do anything against Fang Yuan, but she investigated everything about Fang Yuan's subordinates. But at that time, even if she wanted to use these indirect ways to find Fang Yuan's location, they all ended up in failure. But now, Fairy Ziwei was going against He Lulan. Those past failures had now become her source of confidence. Immediately, Fairy Ziwei made arrangements, this time, Wu Xie, you stay behind. By Ning Bing, you will approach He Lulan. You can say you obtained news from Wu Xie and came to visit. When you near her, sneak attack and seal her in ice. After you get her under control, I will persuade her. How about I go with her? Wu Xie did not feel assured. Bai Ning Bing glanced at him and flew away. Wu Xie quickly looked at Fairy Ziwei, however, shook her head, we will watch it from here. Bai Ning Bing flew across the sky like a flash of white light, she looked down at the peak and shouted, He Lulan, are you here? After a while, He Lulan came out from a mountain cave and frowned slightly as she looked towards Bai Ning Bing, why are you here? Bai Ning Bing laughed and pointed at He Lulan, I have joined Spectral Soul now and have come to capture you. He Lulan, if you are smart, then just let yourself be captured. He Lulan's eyes opened wide, are you for real? At the base of the mountain, Xianxia almost stomped his foot in anger. I knew that Bai Ningbing would spoil the matter. Her nature is eccentric and she prioritizes fun. She did this on purpose, she definitely felt this way would be more interesting. Sure enough, Bai Ningbing's laughter was heard. Of course I am for real. Saying so, she turned into white light and charged at He Lulan. He Lulan had already been preparing and with a shout, she raised her hands and sent out a large amount of flames to counter the white light. Bai Ningbing was caught off guard and was forced back to the sky. But she looked even more excited. Fire path method? You actually changed to this path? Huh, interesting, I already wanted to fight you. But how long can you block me for? Immortal killer move, by Xiang. Bai Ningbing directly activated her trump card method. Her body was no longer a flesh and blood body, and was covered in overflowing frost chi that even shrouded the mountain peak. He Lulan entered the mountain cave and Bai Ningbing gave chase without being afraid of any traps. The two fought inside the cave, causing explosions that cracked and shattered the mountain rocks. After several exchanges, He Lulan fell into a disadvantage and her situation did not look good. He Lulan's aptitude, temperament, and natural talents were at top level, but her fortune was not good and she ran into Fang Yuan too early. Fang Yuan dominated her and used He Qing to control her, which greatly influenced her cultivation. He Lulan's strength Qi Immortal Gu, Flying Bear Strength Immortal Gu, and Self-Strength Immortal Gu became Fang Yuan's possessions. Slavery Immortal Gu was also borrowed by Fang Yuan and consumed. Divert Disaster Immortal Gu was destroyed when she underwent tribulation. During the period of the Fate War, He Lulan almost always relied on the killer move Future Self. Once the Future Self was broken, He Lulan returned to her previous self. Fang Yuan did not summon her back. He Lulan also held ambitions and did not want to be controlled by Fang Yuan, so she actively searched for a way to be free. She possessed her aunt's true inheritances, and after enough pondering, she resolutely changed to cultivating Blazing Heaven Demoness Fire Path. But unfortunately, before she had good progress, she was discovered by Fairy Ziwei and was now chased by Bai Ningbing. He Lulan felt bitter inside, she wanted to retreat but was chased closely by Bai Ningbing. When she slowly lost the strength to attack and was about to be captured by Bai Ningbing, a white light flew over from the horizon. This white light appeared slow but was extremely fast. Bai Ningbing's Bai Xiang form actually could not dodge it and was struck. In an instant, Bai Xiang froze in the air, no longer moving. He Lulan has reinforcements. Xianxia was shocked. Not reinforcements, this should be Longevity Heaven's members. Fairy Ziwei said with a smile. Xianxia realized, Fairy Ziwei had already taken Bai Ningbing's nature into her calculations. Her main goal had been to use Bai Ningbing to trigger Longevity Heaven's ambush. The reason she did not send Xianxia was in fact because she wanted to protect him. Xianxia was Spectral Soul's clone after all, he was truly one of them. And Bai Ningbing, who possessed Bai Xiang, was the perfect candidate to probe the ambush. This is a time path killer move, is it Fang Yuan? He Lulan had a complex expression as she looked towards the horizon through the gaps in the cave. Rank 8 Immortal Gu House Calamity Luck Altar appeared in the horizons, and in almost an instant, arrived at the center of the battlefield. Calamity Luck Altar sent out a strong light that shone on the unmoving Bai Ningbing. Although the killer move by Xiang was amazing, Calamity Luck Altar was a rank 8 Immortal Gu House that was personally created by Giant Sun Immortal Venerable. If Bai Ningbing was struck head-on, her death was certain. Fairy Ziwei quickly made a move, sending out a purple aurora to cover Bai Ningbing while blocking Calamity Luck Altar's powerful light. I was wondering who it was, so it turns out to be the leader of the defeated Heavenly Court. Bing Sai Chuan's voice came from Calamity Luck Altar. Fairy Ziwei shook her head slightly and flew to the sky with Old Man Jing Yuan. We have already joined Lord Spectral Soul, we are no longer in Heavenly Court's faction. Bing Sai Chuan sneered, like I care about which side you are on. He Lulan is my Longevity Heaven's descendant, she is a member of Northern Plains. Don't even dream of harming her. Fairy Ziwei retorted, the 5 regions have merged, all the regional walls have disappeared, what do you mean by Northern Plains? We will need to fight to decide where He Lulan goes. Bing Sai Chuan did not speak any nonsense, he directly controlled Calamity Luck Altar to collide into Fairy Z-Wei. A huge battle erupted. He Lulan and Bai Ningbing were put under control, unable to budge. He Lulan's face was ashen. She was fully aware that be it Heavenly Court or Longevity Heaven, they were trying to use her to search for clues about Fong Yuan. This was the result of having low cultivation level. She had become an object for the two sides to fight over. No one asked her if she was willing or not. This battle did not last long, both sides were holding back. It was Fairy Z-Wei who took the initiative to stop. No need to fight anymore, there is no harm in giving He Lulan to you. Bing Sai Chuan had Immortal Gu House Calamity Luck Altar while Fairy Z-Wei was without Star Constellation chessboard and was in a weakened state. The reason she attacked was because she wanted to trigger a Qi Tide and use it to claim victory. But Bing Sai Chuan clearly knew of Fairy Z-Wei's plan and made Calamity Luck Altar use all its might. Fairy Z-Wei saw the battle turning increasingly fierce and knew her side would have to use their full strength if they wanted to hold on until the Qi Tide arrived, so she directly chose to stop. We have a common objective, it doesn't matter where He Lulan ends up in. Fong Yuan is at his weakest state currently, if we miss this rare chance and let him recover, it will be too late. We can even work together, what do you think, Bing Sai Chuan? Fairy Z-Wei made a proposal. Then, she showed evidence to prove her current faction. Who could have thought that there would be a day when we cooperate? Bing Sai Chuan was silent for a while before sighing. Both sides had their own venerable as their backer and they both wanted to kill Fong Yuan. They had the qualifications to cooperate as well as a common goal, so working together was indeed a wise choice. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2018, Impending Fatal Calamity. Chapter 2018, Impending Fatal Calamity. Central Continent. Deep beneath a certain earth trench, Calamity Luck Altar was floating in the air. There were tall cliffs on both sides, while below it was unfathomable darkness. It was emitting soft light and did not conceal its aura, scaring away any beast that tried to approach it. At the middle of the cliff was a giant cave that was dug by Fairy Z-Wei and the rest. Purple light flickered in the cave and a wisdom path formation was already set up. Fairy Z-Wei sat at the center and Old Man Jing Yuan sat at the assistant's position. On one hand, he was using human path methods to cooperate with Fairy Z-Wei, on the other hand, he was using a portion of the immortal formation to guard against Bing Sai Chuan. After all, it was the first time these two sides were collaborating, they had to err on the side of caution. There were several formation cores at the edges of the formation as well. Bai Ningbing, He Lulan, and Xianxia were sitting in these formation cores as the crucial clues. Purple light swayed, rising and falling at times like tides. After a long while, Fairy Z-Wei opened her eyes slowly and stopped this wisdom path immortal formation. The overflowing purple light dissipated slowly. How is it? Bing Sai Chuan's question came from Calamity Luck Altar. Fairy Z-Wei sighed and shook her head. It is still not enough. But this method is absolutely effective. These three have set alliance agreements with Fong Yuan, their connections are extremely tight. As long as we capture even more Gu immortals, we can deduce Fong Yuan's exact location. The large formation was dismantled and the Gu worms flew back to Fairy Z-Wei's immortal aperture. Xianxia and the others stood up. Bai Ningbing smiled, this is not difficult. During the Fate War, Fong Yuan had dispatched not only us but also a large number of transformation path Gu immortals. He Lulan added, from what I know, these transformation path Gu immortals were incorporated after Fong Yuan annexed an immemorial grotto heaven. After the Fate War, Fong Yuan disappeared without leaving behind any traces. These people should still be scattered around Central Continent. Xianxia shook his head, but these transformation path Gu immortals don't have a close connection with Fong Yuan. It is better if we look for Lady White Rabbit and Fairy Miao Yin. These two are crucial characters that are only second to us. Fairy Z-Wei had stored all the Gu worms by now. She did not have formation flag Gu or similar methods, it was rather time-consuming every time she dismantled the formation. She looked towards Calamity Luck Altar which had been guarding from the side. It is better if we split our forces to search for White Rabbit and Miao Yin. If we encounter Fong Yuan's transformation path Gu immortal subordinates along the way, we can make the decision to make a move at our own discretion. Shortly after, Bing Sai Chuan's response came from Calamity Luck Altar, of course. For our following plans, we will need more communication between us. Fairy Ziwei nodded, indeed. Although the scale of this cooperation was small and duration was short, it had huge significance and both sides had begun to trust each other. Calamity Luck Alter picked up He Lu Lan while Bai Ning Bing and Ning Wuxia stayed with Fairy Ziwei, both sides separated and departed on their own. Immemorial Two Heavens. Crescent Moon Grotto Heaven. Fairy Crescent Moon, you won't surrender even if the alternative is death. Xiao Hejian, Lady Cold Ash and the rest were looking down from high above, looking at the dying Gu immortal in the ruins. Fairy Crescent Moon had rank 8 cultivation and was the owner of Crescent Moon Grotto Heaven. She had the terrain advantage but she was completely outnumbered, she was only hanging on her last breath now. She spat and said with hatred, "You bandits, my Crescent Moon Grotto Heaven has no conflicts with the outside world and has never provoked you nor had any ambitious plans. I will never surrender to you. Then die." Lady Cold Ash was already impatient, she pointed her finger, a grey light shot out and struck Fairy Crescent Moon. Lady Cold Ash put her hand inside her sleeve, Fairy Crescent Moon's soul was carried by the grey light and brought to her. This is a rank 8 Gu immortal soul, devouring her soul will be much more effective and also much easier to absorb. Lady Cold Ash was spectral soul, but he was able to conceal it from the whole of Wu Shuai's alliance. Xiao Hejian looked at her, "Lady Cold Ash, you battled in the front lines and slaughtered countless enemies, collecting a vast number of mortal souls and many Gu immortal souls. Those are your battle spoils, but Lord Alliance Leader specially asked for this rank 8 soul. You cannot take it." Spectral Soul was slightly stunned before smiling and handing this rank 8 soul to Xiao Hejian, "Since our Alliance Leader wants it, why would I dare to take it?" Inside her heart, however, she was snorting coldly, "I shall hand this to you for the time being, in the future, I will settle both our old and new grudges together." Xiao Hejian nodded with approval and took Fairy Crescent Moon's soul while consoling Lady Cold Ash, "Let's go, let the others clean up here. Follow me to see the Alliance Leader and report the battle. I can finally get close to Wu Shuai. This is a good chance." Spectral Soul's mood lifted upon hearing that. However, when the two arrived in Dragon Palace's hall, they only saw Wu Shuai's will sitting on the main seat. Wu Shuai's will heard the report and praised, "Lady Cold Ash, you made the most contributions in this invasion of Crescent Moon Grotto Heaven, well done. It is our duty to work for Alliance Leader." Lady Cold Ash was extremely disappointed but showed a smile on her face. "Alright, you can leave. When we hand out the rewards based on contribution later, you will not be disappointed." Wu Shuai's will waved his hand. The two left Dragon Palace. Spectral Soul, however, felt discontent inwardly, "It is really a pity that we were not able to see Alliance Leader." Xiao Hejian glanced at her, feeling some disdain towards Lady Cold Ash's conduct in trying to flatter the Alliance Leader when they were not even in front of him. "How can Lord Alliance Leader be available whenever you want? He has been in closed cultivation to resolve the danger of the Qi harvest fruits. We only need to follow his orders." "Yes." Xiao Hejian's expression softened as he patted Lady Cold Ash's shoulder, "Work well and follow me, you will be able to play a key role in the alliance one day. Then I will depend on Lord's guidance." Spectral Soul put up a performance while internally scheming on when to capture Xiao Hejian. "It is good that you understand." Xiao Hejian smiled and walked forward. He had joined the alliance because of Qi Ju's true inheritance. As a lone force, he was suppressed by Ice Crystal Immortal Monarch and others. But Xiao Hejian's strength surpassed ordinary rank 8s, he was slowly stabilizing his footing in the alliance and had won over some Gu immortals under him. Lady Cold Ash's performance had been extremely outstanding in the latest battle and she had displayed extraordinary battle strength, so despite her being a pure human, Xiao Hejian wanted to rope her into his side. On the other side, Granny Skeleton has arrived. The doorman shouted. Granny Skeleton entered the hall and saw Qi Si Ancestor on the main seat. She quickly cupped her hands and bowed, getting straight to the point. "Skeleton Grotto Heaven is willing to come under Qi Si Ancestor." Qi Si Ancestor nodded, "Ha ha ha, Granny Skeleton, you are wise. You will not regret joining my side." Granny Skeleton sighed and asked, I wonder when Lord Ancestor can get rid of the Qi harvest fruits problem. I have already made good progress in this, you can rest assured. Fang Yuan changed the topic. Skeleton Grotto Heaven is the nearest to Crescent Moon Grotto Heaven. Crescent Moon Grotto Heaven has now already fallen to Wu Shuai's side. I am willing to send troops and station some Gu immortals in Skeleton Grotto Heaven. I hope you can cooperate. Granny Skeleton sighed. Although Fang Yuan did not show the ability to resolve the danger of Qi harvest fruits, due to the outside world's condition, Granny Skeleton could only lower her head and join him. With the current situation, there is really nothing else I can do. Currently, there are almost no unaffiliated Grotto Heavens left in the immemorial Two Heavens. They have either joined Wu Shuai or have been recruited by Qi Si Ancestor. Sigh, I wonder what the future will be like. Granny Skeleton did not obtain the answer she wanted and left worriedly. The pressure on Fang Yuan was also increasing. A wisdom path great expert was deducing about me just now. The strength is also quite high. It seems like Fairy Ziwei. Fairy Ziwei was deducing the whereabouts of Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan naturally sensed it. This was the same as a contest of the two's wisdom path methods across space. According to my luck, this situation is not looking good. The fatal calamity is impending, danger is lurking everywhere, and there is only a trace of hope. Fang Yuan's cooking luck pot might only be at rank 7, but he could glance at a portion of his luck and deduce the entirety from it. Fang Yuan had already made positive progress regarding the Qi harvest fruits. But he was still at his wit's end on how to refine Heaven Path Dao marks. He was aware that this trace of hope fell on the Heaven Path Dao marks. Only by refining the Heaven Path Dao marks and recovering his strength could he get free from the incoming calamity. If he could not refine them or did not refine them in time, it would be dangerous. But where is this breakthrough point that I seek? If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2019, Rank 8 Hatred Gu. Chapter 2019 Rank 8 Hatred Gu. Western Desert, the intense Rank 8 level battle was still continuing. Qing Cho roared, its tongue shot out with lightning speed. Bam bam bam. The blood-red figures that surrounded Qing Cho were easily pierced and destroyed by its tongue. Every time the blood-red figures exploded, Red Heart Traveler's face would turn a shade paler. His brows were furrowed and his teeth were clenched shut, but his fighting spirit did not diminish as he used all his strength to maintain the battlefield killer move. Red Heart Traveler won't be able to hold on for long like this. 9 Spiritual Fairy, who was fighting Qing Cho, had been paying attention to Red Heart Traveler's condition. They had tied down Qing Cho with a lot of difficulty. Red Heart Traveler had used a battlefield killer move and was able to temporarily entrap this legendary immemorial desolate beast. However, Qing Cho had intelligence comparable to a human's. After it discovered it was unable to break free from this battlefield killer move, it concentrated its attacks on Red Heart Traveler in order to break through. Once Red Heart Traveler was unable to hold on, the battlefield would dissipate and Qing Cho could walk out free. With this experience, it would definitely be extremely vigilant and it would be almost impossible to capture it again in a short period of time. Fine. I can only use that move. 9 Spiritual Fairy gritted her teeth and made a huge decision. Immortal Killer Move, 9 Spiritual Transformations. Her body suddenly shook as she transformed back to her human form. She was a transformation path great expert and should be much stronger after transformation to another form. But right now, even though she returned to her human form, her aura was surging and she was even stronger than her previous self. 9 spiritual lights shot out one after another from her immortal aperture and formed an enormous 9-colored barrier of light. The barrier had 9 layers with distinct colors. Qing Cho had been concentrating on Red Heart Traveler, so it felt a great shock from 9 spiritual fairies' sudden outburst and quickly split some of its attacks towards her. But at this stage, the killer move 9 spiritual transformations was already completed and had no flaws. 9 spiritual fairy gave a clear roar, the 9-colored barrier shook and the 9 layers of light mixed together, becoming extremely dazzling. The mixed light sphere then transformed into a rhinoceros with a large head and small body, and was shining with various colors. It charged towards Qing Cho. Xianxia roared and gave up on Red Heart Traveler for the moment, and without dodging, it charged towards this rhinoceros. With a loud explosion, the surroundings shook intensely. After the two enormous monsters collided, it was actually Xianxia who had to take a small step back while the huge rhino only stopped in its spot. Xianxia was shocked and furious. It had not expected this rhino to be so strong. As far as it was concerned, this multicolored rhino was translucent and it could even see 9 spiritual fairy who was in the center. There was no feeling of it being a solid transformation. But the collision made Xianxia realize, this multicolored rhino was stronger than the previous solid transformations. Xianxia fell into a disadvantage in the collision. This is the first time since the battle started. 9 spiritual transformations is indeed worthy of being a legendary transformation path killer move. Red Heart Traveler was happy and worried at this sight. The price of using 9 spiritual transformations was very high. After a Gu immortal cultivates the killer move 9 spiritual transformations, they can only use it 9 times in their life. 9 spiritual fairy had chosen to expend 1 usage of such a valuable killer move on Xianxia. It showed her determined will. Xianxia roared, its bestial nature was agitated. It charged at 9 spiritual fairy again. But the multicolored light sphere that 9 spiritual fairy was in changed suddenly, from a large rhino to a southern fire sparrow. The fire sparrow spread its wings and flew to the sky. Xianxia charged at empty space. Without even looking up, it activated its defensive methods. Sure enough, at the next moment, Xianxia heard the sharp cry of the fire sparrow, then the sparrow collided onto its back. Whoosh, blazing flames engulfed it. Xianxia's hurriedly activated defensive methods only lasted for a few breaths of time before they broke. Xianxia counterattacked fiercely, beast roars and bird cries mixed together. The two sides were at a deadlock. Red Heart Traveler finally had a brief respite and quickly used the time to adjust his condition. While regulating his breath and observing the battle, he started to feel worried. Xianxia is too sturdy. Although it is being suppressed and the battle tempo is firmly held by 9 spiritual fairy, it has sufficient stamina. On the contrary, 9 spiritual fairy might hold the upper hand and have control over the battle, but she cannot last for long. If there is no external help and this goes on, she will definitely run out of stamina and die. Red Heart Traveler decided to take a risk. He accumulated his strength while waiting patiently. After waiting for 2 hours, he finally saw a chance. The chance was momentary. Red Heart Traveler immediately made his move. He spat out a mouthful of blood. The fragrant blood flew to the air and started rotating. Like a miniature blood sun, it emitted endless blood-red light, rushing to Xianxia. Although Xianxia was in a fierce battle with 9 spiritual fairy, it had never let go of its vigilance against Red Heart Traveler. However, when it used its killer move to block this tiny blood sphere, it was of no use. The blood sphere seemed to be illusory. It passed through the obstruction and struck Xianxia's chest, turning into a red sun insignia. Xianxia's expression changed immediately. It could feel that its every movement was being tied down by the red sun insignia. This was an extremely powerful seal. It quickly showed its might. It slowed down movement, interfered with killer moves, and lowered fighting spirit. Damn it, damn it! Xianxia roared and started attacking wildly. 9 spiritual fairy used all her strength to hold Xianxia back, but was being beaten back little by little. With a loud explosion, Xianxia finally broke through Red Heart Traveler's battlefield killer move. However, Red Heart Traveler had a smile of victory on his face. Xianxia's whole body was bound by blood threads. The source of the countless blood threads was the blood sun insignia at the center of its chest. Success! Cough, cough, cough. Red Heart Traveler coughed out large mouthfuls of blood, his face pale like paper. 9 spiritual fairy quickly suppressed the increasingly slower Xianxia while transmitting her voice. Red Heart, do you need my help? Red Heart Traveler shook his head slowly and used a killer move with difficulty, healing his wounds while enduring the intense pain. 9 spiritual fairy spent much effort before finally suppressing Xianxia. Looking at Xianxia, who was bound by the blood threads like a mummy, 9 spiritual fairy praised, "What method is this? It could actually capture Xianxia." Red Heart Traveler was barely able to reply, "This is a temporary move I created, I have not named it yet." 9 Spiritual Fairy looked towards Red Heart, slightly widening her eyes. I am truly amazed. Red Heart Traveler shook his head, smiling bitterly. Don't overestimate me. I detected that Xianxia's vital Gu was rank 8 Hatred Gu, so I made this move. If it were other legendary immemorial beasts, this move would be a joke. I could have the chance to use this move because you did not hesitate to activate 9 spiritual transformations. 9 Spiritual Fairy also shook her head. Capturing Qing Chou concerns the plan of capturing Fang Yuan. This is an important matter for Heavenly Court and for the people of the world. How could I refuse to pay such a small price? But is this Hatred Gu the one recorded in U003 CU003 See the Legends of Renzu 003 EU003E? Yes. Red Heart Traveler nodded. 9 Spiritual Fairy sighed. This explains why Qing Chou can distinguish its enemies. Unfortunately, it did not have a killer move to make full use of it. Now that we have captured it, we can take out the Hatred Gu and use Heavenly Court's killer move to find the location of Fang Yuan, Spectral Soul, and other demons. Red Heart Traveler restrained his aura. Let's go, we cannot stay here for long. They had engaged in a fierce battle for a long while. Although the battlefield killer move saved a lot of time and also concealed most of the traces of battle, there were bound to be Gu immortals who would come to check this place. Not to mention other forces, Mo clan's assembled troops might already be rushing on their way. 9 Spiritual Fairy and Red Heart Traveler had battled for a long while. Their conditions were not perfect. They detained Qing Chou and moved towards Central Continent. Sure enough, just a short while after they left, several Gu immortals of Mo clan arrived with surging momentum in an immortal Gu house. There was a fierce battle here. Although there are few traces, it can be seen that it was a rank 8 level fight. No wonder my clan's Gu immortals perished so quickly. Give chase, we have an immortal Gu house with us, they won't be able to run far. Mo clan's group followed the traces and chased the 2 Heavenly Court immortals. Several days went by again. A sandstorm blew and a Gu master was struggling to move in the desert. He reached the center of the battlefield and saw the deep craters that were mostly buried by the sandstorm. He raised his head and roared. This person was Emoli, who killed Pengda and seized Thieving Heaven's true inheritance. He went through all kinds of troubles to get here as soon as possible, thinking of seeing the true appearance of the culprit that killed his wife and son, but he was too late. I am going to find you and cut you to pieces. No matter who you are or what monster you are, I will kill you. Emoli knelt on the desert and roared towards the sky. Pengda's soul was floating beside him. Pengda gave a cold laugh. He, you, a mere mortal, wants to take revenge against an immortal beast. So what if it is an immortal beast? Emoli's eyes were red as he stared at Pengda's soul. His expression was malevolent. I have Thieving Heaven's true inheritance, I have Thieving Heaven's true inheritance. I can definitely become a Gu immortal and succeed in taking revenge. Pengda laughed again. There is another possibility as well. This immortal beast was already killed by the Gu immortals. You have no target to take revenge against already. Emoli was stunned and was silent like a statue. After a long while, he suddenly moved his hand and grabbed the throat of Pengda's soul. He seemed to be in a state of insanity. No. It won't die, I won't allow it to die. It must die by my hands. Emoli continued to shout, I will become a Gu immortal, I have Thieving Heaven's true inheritance, I can definitely take revenge. I can definitely take revenge. Tell me how to use the next Gu worm. While grabbing Pengda's soul, Emoli activated his Gu worms. Wisps of white smoke and sizzling sounds came from the area where Emoli's hand touched Pengda. Pengda's soul immediately let out a sharp screech from the unbearable pain. I will speak, this is called Electric Circuit Gu. Electric Circuit Gu. What is this thing? Pengda's soul hesitated for a bit. How can I explain this? You are not an otherworldly demon, you won't be able to understand what an electric circuit is. Simply speaking, it is the path that electric currents move along. Emoli sneered, what is so hard to understand about it? It is not like I have not read U003 CU003 See the Legends of Renzu 003 EU003E. U003 CU003 See the Legends of Renzu 003 EU003E has recorded that Lightning Gu chose to cooperate with Blazing Glory Lightning Brilliance to find a way out. they eventually managed to leave immemorial blue heaven. This should be the true meaning behind electric circuit. 1. Peng Da's soul was stunned. Mo Li kept on praising, thieving heaven demon venerable is truly worthy of being a venerable. He actually has such creative thoughts, he must have obtained the inspiration from U003C U003C the legends of Renzu 003E U003E, thus creating electric circuit Gu. Peng Da's soul. 1. It can be read as lightning path/road, which is how these Gu world people interpret the Gu. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2020, Rank 9 Lightning Gu. 2020 Rank 9 Lightning Gu. Forest Lightning Grotto Heaven. Forest Lightning Grotto Lord, you betrayed the Two Heavens Alliance and actually colluded with Qi Si Ancestor. This is an unforgivable sin and you will be executed for it. Xiao Hejian looked down from above. Behind him were a large number of Gu immortals from the Two Heavens Alliance. They were all standing silently and expressionlessly, showing the numerical superiority. On the contrary, Forest Lightning Grotto Lord was facing the enemies alone, his strength paled in comparison. Forest Lightning Grotto Lord gave a bitter smile, since you found out, I don't have anything to say. But do you think I am willing to collude with the enemy? The Alliance wants to experiment on the Qi harvest fruit in my Forest Lightning Grotto Heaven. None of the Alliance's previous attempts have succeeded and all the Grotto Heavens they have tested on have detonated. I sided with the Two Heavens Alliance for self-protection. But now, you want to sacrifice my home? Since that is the case, it is better to surrender to the enemy, I might even have some new hope. Xiao Hejian frowned, snorting coldly, you have no confidence in our Two Heavens Alliance and Lord Alliance leader Wu Shuai. Perhaps this time will succeed. Forest Lightning Grotto Lord chuckled, if Alliance leader Wu Shuai had a fair disposition, I would have nothing to say. But he is clearly protecting variant humans while sacrificing humans. The Grotto Heavens the Alliance has experimented on are all human Grotto Heavens. Wu Shuai is a dragon man after all, I have seen through this Alliance's farce. Human Gu immortals present here, watch carefully, this will be your outcome in the future. After me, it will be your turn. Hearing this, the human Gu immortals clearly had a slight change in expressions. Forest Lightning Grotto Lord had no doubt spoken of what they were worried about. Wu Shuai and Qi Si Ancestor were the same person, they naturally had a tacit agreement. They looked to be confronting each other on the surface, but were secretly dividing the Two Heavens forces. By now, there were no neutral Grotto Heavens in the Two Heavens. The Grotto Heavens in the Two Heavens were either destroyed or had joined Wu Shuai or Qi Si Ancestor. After the two sides divided the Two Heavens, they ceased fighting and began to find a way to solve the Qi harvest fruit problem. Compared to Qi Si Ancestor who was researching in closed cultivation, Wu Shuai's Qi path attainment was clearly much weaker. So, Wu Shuai's Two Heavens Alliance had no choice but to experiment and be very rough with their actions to pursue efficiency. The experiments to eliminate the Qi harvest fruits had failed many times and destroyed many Grotto Heavens as a result. When it was Forest Lightning Grotto Heaven's turn, Forest Lightning Grotto Lord was not willing to bet his home, so for self-protection and survival, he secretly contacted Qi Si Ancestor. He was truly an unfortunate guy, Qi Si Ancestor and Wu Shuai were in essence the same person. Qi Si Ancestor was Fang Yuan's main body and he informed Wu Shuai directly. Wu Shuai thus sent the command to Xiao Hejian to gather some Gu immortals to punish the traitor. Looking at Forest Lightning Grotto Lord, Xiao Hejian sneered silently and said with impatience, who is going to get this criminal? Lady Cold Ash stepped forward like she wanted to be the vanguard, let me. Xiao Hejian nodded, good. Lady Cold Ash directly charged towards Forest Lightning Grotto Lord. Xiao Hejian was inwardly happy and thought, Cold Ash is perceptive and has a lot of capability. My efforts to win her over were not a waste. Lady Cold Ash fought with Forest Lightning Grotto Lord, both were at rank 8 and went at each other, neither yielding a step. The other Gu immortals of the Two Heavens Alliance were watching the battle from atop the clouds. In a fight between Gu immortals, for a group attack to work, they would have paid attention to cooperation. Different paths would cause conflicts between Dao marks, if there was no skillful cooperation, it might instead waste their efforts. Naturally, this did not hinder the observing Gu immortals from accumulating their energy and attacking when there was a chance. But the two Heavens Alliance's Gu immortals did not find any opportunity to sneak attack. Lady Cold Ash gradually gained the upper hand and control of the battle. Forest Lightning Grotto Lord saw the situation was bad and immediately escaped below ground. Lady Cold Ash was Spectral Soul's disguise after all, how could Forest Lightning Grotto Lord be her match? The deadlock earlier was only a deception, it was nothing more than Spectral Soul's act. Xiao Hejian saw Forest Lightning Grotto Lord fleeing and laughed heartily. Chase. The immortals gave chase. They did not care about the large Forest Lightning Grotto Heaven and only targeted Forest Lightning Grotto Lord. As long as they got rid of this soul rank 8, other resistances would not be an issue. They even took the initiative to maintain the safety of Forest Lightning Grotto Heaven. After all, this Grotto Heaven needed to be tested on and they would have a share in the distribution of the resources inside it. Forest Lightning Grotto Lord kept on moving deep underground. Lady Cold Ash did not give chase and stayed beside Xiao Hejian. Soon, the first group of Gu immortals who had entered deep underground returned with soot covering them. When he obtained their report, Xiao Hejian was slightly stunned. There is such a thing. There is a lightning forest deep underground. The returning Gu immortals naturally brought evidence. Through methods similar to Shadow Image Gu, the two Heavens Alliance's immortals saw a vast lightning forest. In the pitch-black underground, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled every moment. The flashes of lightning formed a tall silver tree. The tall tree only lasted for a moment, but it had large thunder leaves, many silver lightning branches and so on. They were materialized and tempted all the immortals. Heaven, these are all priceless lightning path rank 8 immortal materials. This is only the superficial wealth of the lightning forest. According to the records in U003 CU003 see the Legends of Renzu 003 EU003E, the source of lightning forest is Lightning Gu. The size of this lightning forest is enough to prove there is a rank 8 Lightning Gu here. Forest Lightning Grotto Lord wants to resist by relying on Lightning Gu. Humph, wishful thinking. How could a mere rank 8 immortal Gu oppose our two Heavens Alliance? The immortals discussed but no one was willing to enter the forest. After all, the lightning forest was a dangerous area and Forest Lightning Grotto Lord possessed an enormous terrain advantage here. If they rashly invaded, it was very likely to be an unrewarding venture. Xiao Hejian frowned. Who will go capture Forest Lightning Grotto Lord? Lady Cold Ash stood up once again without hesitation. Xiao Hejian showed a pleased smile. Cold Ash, if you win, your contribution will be at the top for this battle. Thank you. Lady Cold Ash was about to move. Wait. Night Heavenly Wolf Lord also walked out. The lightning forest is a dangerous region, let me accompany Cold Ash. If there is any unexpected mishap, I can be of some assistance. Let's do it that way then. Xiao Hejian agreed to Night Heavenly Wolf Lord's request. Thereupon, the two immortals charged towards the depths of the underground. Other Gu immortals along with Xiao Hejian were floating in the air, watching the battle as well as waiting patiently. Lady Cold Ash charged to the bottom and arrived in front of the lightning forest. She directly opened her immortal aperture and let out countless soul beasts. The soul beasts charged towards the lightning forest like a violent tide. Rumble. Lightning struck continuously and explosions resounded unendingly. There were severe losses to the soul beasts, they used their lives to forcibly pave open a path. Lady Cold Ash and Night Heavenly Wolf Lord smoothly entered the depths of the lightning forest. I didn't think Lady Cold Ash would actually deal with the lightning forest like this. She is really resolved to suck up to Xiao Hejian regardless of the cost. There have been many rumors recently about the Alliance leader wanting to make Xiao Hejian a Vice Alliance leader. The Alliance only has one Vice Alliance leader, Ice Crystal Immortal Monarch, currently. It is not strange for Lord Wu Shuai to make this arrangement to keep the balance between his subordinates. Lady Cold Ash might be a human Gu immortal but she doesn't want to have the same outcome as Forest Lightning Grotto Lords. So she wholeheartedly wants to climb ranks in the Alliance, she is doing her best to protect her Grotto Heaven. Gu immortals observed the battle while conversing secretly. After a while of effort, Lady Cold Ash and Night Heavenly Wolf Lord fought their way to the center of the lightning forest and saw Forest Lightning Grotto Lord once again. Forest Lightning Grotto Lord was refining rank 8 lightning goo and quickly stopped the refinement when he saw the two immortals. He shouted in anger, "Stop! If you take one more stop, I will destroy this lightning goo." The immortals were surprised. So this lightning goo is still a wild immortal goo and Forest Lightning Grotto Lord has not actually refined it. What is going on? I understand. Forest Lightning Grotto Lord's ambition is not small. Oh, please explain. If I am not wrong, this lightning forest should have been just an ordinary lightning path resource point at the start. But at a certain point, it gave birth to a wild lightning goo. Because of this lightning goo, the lightning path resource point gradually transformed into a small lightning forest. Forest Lightning Grotto Lord did not refine this wild lightning goo, instead he added resources to grow this lightning forest. The larger the scale of the lightning forest, the lightning goo, which is the source, will also keep on advancing further. Forest Lightning Grotto Lord kept on investing resources and finally advanced this wild lightning goo to rank 8. The two Heavens Alliance's Goo Immortals saw through the ambitions of Forest Lightning Grotto Lord. Forest Lightning Grotto Lord was a lightning path Goo Immortal and was not proficient in refinement path. But this lightning forest was created naturally, it was simply nature refining goo itself. Forest Lightning Grotto Lord cleverly borrowed the power of nature and added momentum to the original foundation. His goal was to advance lightning goo to rank 9 level. And during this process, if he refined this wild immortal goo, the process of nature refining goo would be interrupted and could not be recovered. Thus, Forest Lightning Grotto Lord had left this wild lightning goo in its state and did not refine it. It was extremely difficult to seize others' goo worms. But wild immortal goo were different. A rank 8 wild immortal goo, the crucial thing was that it even had the possibility of advancing to rank 9. This discovery was extremely huge. Xiao Jian and the rest opened their eyes wide, revealing greed and wariness. This is of vital importance, we cannot be rash. Xiao Jian quickly transmitted his voice to Lady Cold Ash and Knight Heavenly Wolf Lord. Lady Cold Ash and Knight Heavenly Wolf Lord paused their attacks. Forest Lightning Grotto Lord spoke conditions: as long as you spare me and my Forest Lightning Grotto Heaven, I will offer this lightning goo to you. Xiao Jian quickly contacted Wu Shuai and reported this matter. The matter concerned a future rank 9 lightning goo. Xiao Jian did not dare to decide by himself. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible.